Hello, and welcome to the Tony McClellan Show, bringing you all things social impact, social justice, and social mobility. And today, I really want to think about safeguarding for young people, children and young people. But before we do that, and I bring my guest on, I just want to say thank you for joining me. If you are here, in the chat, do pop on, just say hi, tell us where you're joining from, and I'll make sure that you get a live mention, get those questions ready, because I've got my fabulous guest as well. Well, she's not really a guest because she's part of First Life Group too. So, welcome, Kelechi. How are you doing?
I'm really good, Tony. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So what I'm doing here today is I'm going to be doing a quarterly roundup every so often. So we're going to be bringing you more information about what we're doing at First Life Group, some insight into some of the projects that we're working on, some of the work that we're actually doing, just so that you can get a feel for what we're trying to do. And Kelechi is our resident, safeguarding consultant. And we just thought it would be really appropriate to just give people a really good update, very brief, because we're only here for 30 minutes. So, Kelechi, how are you today?
I'm really good, Tony. I'm really happy to be here. Feeling really positive, happy to share some information with everybody that's on live, and just want to welcome those that are joining. And yes, do engage with us in the comments.
Okay, so before we get going, let's say hi to Miranda. Let us know she's here from Texas. Thank you so much for joining, Miranda. We've got Melody from Massachusetts. Lovely to have you join us, Melody. You're doing some great work. We've got Deborah here over. Thank you very much. Let us know where you are joining us from. We have, who have we got? Chayambi from Malawi. Thank you so much. Wow, we've got a real global presence here. With a global audience. So let's just kick off because we haven't got a lot of time. Now, one of the things that I always say working with social entrepreneurs is about the fact that if you are working, there's so many people out there doing great, doing really good and want to do good in the world. And so many of them are social entrepreneurs. And those social entrepreneurs, if you are working with vulnerable groups, whether it be older people, younger people, or anyone that's at risk, make sure that you've got your safeguarding policies, procedures, strategy, your guidance in place, because you won't be able to move without it. Okay, that's true, isn't it, Kelechi? You won't be able to go anywhere without it. So once you are setting up, and not only social entrepreneurs, but solo entrepreneurs too, if you're isolated and you're working alone, you need some input or some support, then that's the place that you can come to. You can come to us because we do lots to support. So our safeguarding offer is one of the things that underpins all of our work that we do here. So who have we got? We've got Stella. Welcome, Stella, from London. Thank you. And Deborah said that she's in Nottingham, so someone else in the UK. Thank you so much for joining us, and get ready to get those questions in to Kelechi. So, Kelechi, where should we start? We've got the Child Safeguarding Practice Review Panel annual report in the UK. So this report was produced in 2021, and it set out everything that everyone needs to be doing in 2022 in terms of keeping children safe. So for anyone that's watching that isn't sure about what safeguarding is, do you want to just kind of give, a sentence or two, Kelechi?
Yeah, so according to the Children's Act, everybody is responsible for safeguarding children. So it's everyone's duty, especially people that work frontline, practitioners, nurses, social workers, education. So everybody is in part of the process of supporting children and ensuring that they think about risks that are posed to children, or they see things and they act on it. Okay, so safeguarding is my bread and butter. It's what I do. It's my passion. But specifically for those that are more vulnerable and the marginalized community. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So it's about keeping young people safe and free from harm. So thank you so much. So Kelechi is actually a registered nurse, has got great CAMHS, mental health experience for young people specifically. And you do a lot of work around trauma-informed approaches as well, which really is what's making the difference at the moment, because the trauma-informed approach is the right way to be going. So let's just say hi to a couple of others. Contiseo from Boston, Massachusetts, thank you so much for joining. Love having you here every week. And the fabulous Dan Ross. Good morning, international icon known to friends as you're so kind. Thank you. I didn't pay him for that, but I'm a fan of yours too, Dan. You are doing some incredible things. Thank you so much. So Kelechi, what's going on? What's happening? This document is there as a working tool to capture evidence of what's working and what's not working, and improvements that need to be made. So where are we at? What are the key highlights?
Yeah, so I think it's a fantastic document because it really gives us, anybody that is working in child protection or even with children, an idea of where we stand nationally in relation to serious harm and children that unfortunately die at the hands of any cause of abuse. So within this report, it highlights what we need to focus on nationally in relation to child protection. Some of the key features that I really am excited about is also linked to the independent review to children's social care. So where we're thinking about, they highlight that there is need to consider around professional multi-agency working, and how do we better work? How do we share information better? And how do we ensure that agencies are not working in silo, so alone, okay? The unfortunate thing is these things have been highlighted for 20 years, going back to Victoria Climier's death. I think now with the recent events of Baby Star and the young boy that was unfortunately murdered by parents, it's also highlighted that there is a real need for change. So within this report, it looks at all deaths that are highlighted to the national panel nationally and serious incidences, and they look at the themes and the features that we as practitioners need to be highlighted. So some of the things that I've mentioned have been highlighted within there, but it also recommends things that we need to do and consider moving forward, such as ensuring practitioners have a good idea of what is trauma and have a good idea of working and considering adverse childhood experiences, considering how do we make education a key partner in the strategic lens of at a national level, and then also thinking about what I'm passionate about, which is the most vulnerable and marginalized children, but considering culture and considering sensitivities to that as well as, yeah.
No, that's great. That's a really good background and insight that you've given everyone there. And I just want to come back to that piece around multi-agency work and disciplinary approach, because one of the things that it highlights in there is around serious incidents and child protection plans specifically. Of 398 children directly involved in a serious incident, 44 of those, which is 11.1%, were on a child protection plan at the time. 25 of this group of children, 56.8, had been on a child protection plan at least once before. So that in itself says that we're not doing good enough in terms of our joined up approach, and more needs to be done there when they are vulnerable and when they're seen as at risk initially. So what have you got to kind of say about that? Because those are alarming statistics. Have we got anyone that works with this group that's viewing this at the moment, that's joining us? Have you got any questions? Let us know your thoughts about some of those dire statistics.
Very concerning. Yeah, very concerning. And I think that's actually something, again, I highlight that is been a feature. I do review child death reviews, and when I mean that is I actually take my time to read individual reviews that are on the NSPCC, and it does highlight that there is concerns around where there has been lack of sharing of information and the dangers and the repercussions of that. So when we've seen children on child protection plans, and we're seeing that there's been ineffective care plans or ineffective child protection plans, or where there have been children that have been on the child protection plans for a long period of time, and there have been concerns that practitioners are not able to escalate where there are concerns around the length of time, or actually where there hasn't been a change that has been evidence or outcomes. These are things that have been seen in actually looking at cases that I've read. And I think the statistics that you read out, Tony, is really concerning. My passion is thinking about how do we ensure that the next time this report is highlighted, that decreases significantly.
Yeah, because the thing about it is, Kelechi, from my perspective as well, I read that and I'm listening to what you're saying about the joined up, what we need to do. But this is what the Victoria Colombier report was about all those years ago.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing it? What's stopping people? What do you think are the things that are inhibiting organizations from this joined up approach? Because it just feels like a scratch record. We keep saying the same thing. We know what we need to do. What's stopping people from doing it?
Yeah, so two things I've seen in professional practice is a bit of an unclear line between roles and responsibilities. So not only that practitioners are not clear on not their own personal roles, but what are the responsibilities of other people within the safeguarding partnership. Another big thing that I've seen is that issues are within systems, and actually systems and record keeping. Health has a different system, education has a different system, and social care have a different system. So what I found is that effectively what Victoria's report had highlighted was there was a need where they developed CPIS as a result of that. So when a child goes into a hospital, they should have a system that nationally other hospitals can see. That's great for within health, but also there's some difficulties when you have that on another agency or externally with another service. Sometimes I find that it's very difficult to find out the history of a young person if they move, and we are a very migrant population within the UK. Families move in and out of areas. So sometimes it's really hard to grip the history, and sometimes it has been quite catastrophic where we have children that's moved around and there hasn't been one piece of the puzzle that fits in all, where a practitioner can see that there's big concerns.
Wow. And some of it is about that accountability, isn't it? That accountability and responsibility piece, because that is really quite heavy, I've seen it in education, I've seen it in various different services. I personally, in education, I've had times where I've been, kicked out of my office because it's gone 7 o'clock. I'm still trying to contact someone to get a young person referred. The cleaners have kicked me out. I jump in my car, drive to the top of the road, and I sit there and I think, have I done enough? I get home, and I used to have a swivel chair. I used to remember going home after all of this just to kind of come down a little bit, sitting in that swivel chair. I just used to spin, for about 30 minutes just to wind down and think, what else could I have done? Have I done enough? What do I need to follow up on in the morning? And that was before I'd even taken my coat off. I'd just jump in, and that was if no one was home, So, and there are so many, and there's so much responsibility on, not only head teachers. We've heard of an unfortunate death recently, even though it's not connected with anything like this. But really, the pressure is on, and there's so much stress, and it's putting so much stress on people. What would you say around that?
You've mentioned something very important, Tony, is around capacity. And within the independent review to social care, it's mentioned about the issues around staffing. And actually, some services are relying a lot on agency workers, and a lot of money is being pumped into that. So when you mention that, actually, I can remember as a young health officer myself being really stretched with my caseload and not being able to manage and cope with that. And actually, where there's services that have a high turnover, especially within social care, you have this concept within child protection, which is called start again, where a practitioner has a sense of optimism, where they meet a case and they have to get to know the case, and then they start with another practitioner again. And that can be quite dangerous and catastrophic when you're thinking about the life journey of a child. And actually, when do you now make action and escalate something? So capacity is a big issue, where we're thinking about that actually people are so burnt out and overworked. They are doing their best for some of our children, but then how do we invest in the service and ensure that we make the services, we have support and supervision for staff, so that they feel that they can stay and they feel that they can manage the work that they have to do, especially social workers, education, healthcare, and all different agencies, third sector services as well that are needed.
Wow, and it's amazing, isn't it, what's really needed, and the roles and responsibilities as well, because I've seen, in larger organizations where, no one wants to take on a particular role. No one wants to be that DSL, designated safeguarding lead, because they know the accountability. And it's even worse if there's a blame culture within that organization as well. Everyone wants to move away from it. So making sure that there's a job description, that they're supported with training, they feel confident in their capabilities is really, really crucial as well. Making sure they've got that adequate support. So, okay, so the people that have joined us have all gone quiet. Maybe they're feeling shy today, collectively. I'm not sure. But are there any questions? Is there anyone that works in this space that has a question about this? So, Kelechi, while they're warming up, maybe, do you want to tell us about keeping children safe in education? I know that was last updated in late 2022. Anything that's a highlight that needs to be shared right now in relation to this area, because there's something in there about the cultural aspect, cultural humility as well, isn't there? So
I need to definitely. I'm really happy that that's included. I think it makes so I think keeping children safe, that's a document that I love to share. I know it's really it's really encouraged within education. However, I think every practitioner, every service needs to read it. It's really almost like your Bible for safeguarding for me. So that cultural humility being added in, that's excellent, but also online safety. So that's one of the biggest issues around exploitation. And I think it's really good. For me, the document really highlights at a basic level what all practitioners, not just in education, need to consider when we're thinking about exploitation, not just grooming face-to-face or in person, but online grooming is now not a new thing, Tony, but it's always been there. But people within the document is really highlighting that this is a concern that needs to be really prioritized within all agencies at the moment. Cultural humility as well is something that I'm really focusing on. So it's something that I probably need to catch up on the document. I'm really happy it's included in there. But it's really good for all practitioners to catch up with that document, keeping children safe in education and in general. For me, I use it in supervision with practitioners. I use it as part of my training for practitioners to go and look at.
Okay, so that's great. So are there any other key highlights from this document in terms of how we're doing, generally?
Keeping children safe?
Not keeping children safe, but let's go back to the Child Safeguarding Practice Review panel. Have you got 2 or 3 key areas that anyone that's listening or watching this back need to really kind of, keep an eye on?
Yeah, so we mentioned some in beginning, but I will just highlight so there's a real need of thinking about children from again, I'm a trauma informed. I say I'm very much trauma informed. So within the document, what I'm happy about in this report, it highlights the real need of consideration and recognition of trauma for all children. But not only that, it says that practitioners need to think about that, how they represent that in not just your documentation, but in your interactions, so as not to re-traumatize children, but also to consider that in terms of your response and safeguarding. So the report highlights that practitioners need to think about trauma, adverse childhood experiences, and mental health. And what I love, what I love is all 3 of that is being brought together. But then what I found out, Tony, actually reading, which I'll mention, the Next Steps to Child Protection England, which is going to be a parliamentary discussion, is that in the independent review to children's social care, one of the recommendations is to have a family help team in all children's social services. That's a level 2 service that encourages that there will be a mental health worker, a family health practitioner, and a domestic violence advocate. And what I see is that actually that's a representation of what that looks like in a multi-agency team, where you're recognizing mental health, you're recognizing trauma, such as DV, but you're also considering trauma, mental health, and you're considering social work, family support in that. So I think that's fantastic.
And I think it is fantastic, and it's the way forward. And one of the things that I want to really highlight here as well is about the trauma-informed approach and being able to recognize trauma. And I know that you're doing lots of work around this. This is your specialist piece, Kelechi. Look, her eyes lighting up already. You know, so if anyone's out there listening and wants some information about the trauma-informed approach, this is the person you need to contact. You can get in touch with either of us. We're happy to help you. But this is Kelechi's specialist area that she's working on for us within First Life Group, as well as a SLIP practitioner. So tell us a little bit about the SLIP.
So I recently completed my course into being a SLIP reviewer, and really that basically means is that I will be able to be an independent reviewer into child safeguarding practice review. So when there's a serious incident or a child death, I could be involved in actually reviewing that. So that's something that's underway. Also domestic homicides reviews, that is something that I also be involved in. So really that is a passion that is now I'm able to support in actually thinking with multi-agency practitioners about the process of how of the outcome of an unfortunate situation, but also mark it with change and think about outcomes, but bring my support and expertise into that process.
No, that's great. And do you want to just share what's happening this week in terms of legislation?
Yeah, so a big thing that's happening, which I've been fortunate to be involved in, is that on the 23rd, which is this Thursday, there will be a discussion within Parliament, and it's called the Next Steps for Child Protection in England. And really that involves some of the key stakeholders nationally within the UK to discuss the next steps, which includes the independent review to social care. So I will be discussing the multi-agency lens from the voice of the child, but also we'll be talking about how do we better work as a partnership. And I'm fortunate to represent health in that discussion. There'll be police, there'll be social care, there'll be education. I'll be the health representation. And I really definitely think this is a way forward to really implement change, not just locally, but nationally. I'm really encouraging people to, if they have anything that they want to be considered in this discussion, that they can reach out. But also I'm going to bring in the view of my experiences and also think about trauma, think about cultural sensitivity within that space. So yes, Tony, I'm fortunate to be a part of that. And I think it is something that I'm really excited about.
And I'm excited about it for you too.
Thank you.
So that's absolutely brilliant. So so if anyone is finding this really useful and would find it useful for us to bring you a quarterly update, then do let me know in the chat so that we can know whether it's useful or not. We will also be dropping the link to that particular document, the Safeguarding Practice Review Panel annual report that was produced in 2021, measuring some of the work and setting out some of the work for 2022. We can drop that link in the chat to make sure that you are there. So is there anything else really succinctly, Kelechi, that you would like people to know? 3 or 4 real key bullet points in terms of safeguarding that people really need to be up on, they need to look out for, need to do, tips, anything?
Yes. I would say be informed, join platforms like this on a basis. I know you're doing things like safeguarding hubs, etc. Tony, I think it's really important that if you don't know, inquire for supervision. I offer consultation supervision to staff if you're interested. Fortunately, we will be doing workshops with First Life as well, but I have a trauma-informed one coming up. So if you're interested, head over and click on and invest in your CPD. But I will say, Tony, the last thing I would want to say is I am excited about safeguarding child protection in the UK. I do believe that safeguarding is now, it should be always a hot topic, but I think there is moves towards making sure that we make the necessary changes. So I would encourage anyone listening to always join in, but just always engage, link in, partner up with us and send me a message, and I'm happy to engage with you.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot complementary that we offer, even though, you know, there are some specific pieces. I'll just very briefly mention that there is a DSL hub, which is a multidisciplinary. And so what it does, it brings people from different disciplinaries together, different disciplines together. So we've got a nurse, we've got a social worker, we've got somebody in business, and a representative from the police, for example. And what it does is it means that there's that shared understanding. You're not just talking about people in your own discipline, and that joined up thinking. So, you know, there's some supervision in there as well. Ask me, check it out. It's easily accessible for lots of people, and it is there to support you all. And that's what the intention is about that. So yeah, hope you found it really useful. Some real quick tips there. If you're a social entrepreneur, get your safeguarding up to scratch. There's lots available from NSPCC as well. You know, the Casper updates, just go and check them out. If you are a solo entrepreneur and you need some support with others around you, it's not fun thinking about it on your own. You know, see how we can support you, or come and join these types of events and connect with others. And if you're a social entrepreneur doing good in the world, make sure that you've got your policies and everything in place. We're going to drop those documents in the link. And that's going to be it for today. Yeah, we've got a few minutes to spare. But anyone that's in the US, if you work in this space, would absolutely love to hear from you to find out what you're doing in the US, so we can compare and look at what is going on globally. Yeah, across the globe, especially in relation to sustainable development goals and things like that. So that joined up approach, it's not just necessarily within disciplines. You know, let's have a look at other countries as well and see what they're doing. So do share with us, get in touch, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And if you found it useful, let us know too. And we'll bring you another update in a quarter. Reach out, follow Kelechi, reach out to me on Kelechi, and have a fabulous rest of the day.
Thank you.
Okay, so next week I'll be right here, and I will be talking about redundancy. So lots of people being laid off, being made redundant. So I've got a very special guest that's going to be here in this hot seat, and we're going to be talking about just that. Thank you so much, Kelechi. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's joined. So Miranda, Deborah, who else we got? Stella, Consejo, Dan, and Leslie. Thank you for joining in. I know there was a few more watching as well, but no problem. We can catch you another time. And on that note, bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me and my guest today on Critical Reflections with Your Critical Friend. Today, you got just a very, very small sprinkling of Tony's fairy dust. But if you'd like more, then do reach out. For speaking or hosting, it's TonyMcClelland.com. For social impact, social justice, or social mobility, check out our work at firstlifegroup.com. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, feel encouraged, be inspired, be empowered, and make a difference. Bye for now.